Excuse me. Can I quit this podcast?
I told Eddie Murphy to stay in college so he'd have something to fall back on.
I get great advice.
All right.
You realize what you would have done to comedy if Murphy had taken your advice and went to Nassau Community College or Queensborough College. Or
I think comedy history would have been changed had he taken my advice.
Yeah.
But you need something to fall back on. You really do. Hey, this is Stand Up Memories. This is
like we could have formed, like if we were smart, Peter and I have known each other for 45 years, so we're totally out of things to talk about. And so we were just discussing when we had baseball cards in the 50s. Now, if we had held on to them, wouldn't need college. We'd have Eddie Murphy's money.
Absolutely. And we were actually talking about the gum more than we were talking about the cards. Hal Spear, the late comedian Hal Spear, had a joke about what kind of gum is it when you drop it and it shatters?
Yeah.
That flat gum that came with the baseball cards would shatter
like a pane of glass.
But it was delicious.
Unbelievable.
This is Stand Up Memories, and we have great guests. We really
do you
have
remember Bonomo's Turkish taffy?
I do. Snap it and crack it. I do remember.
Same idea.
It's Bonomo's. Now this is
candy.
This is a show that I love doing once in a while. We have great guests, but this is just Jackie and me, and we're gonna.
Seth Rogen canceled on us last minute.
He did.
And he's such a jerk because he would have had such a good time.
I can't believe he canceled.
He said he had to stay home and clean the bathroom.
But we're going to actually live up to the title of this podcast and share Stand Up Memories.
Which is a great... I've been revisiting John DeBellis.
Is that a Chinese gong?
I don't know.
All right.
Is that Michael?
Yes. Go ahead. John DeBellis, one of our past guests.
John DeBellis has a fantastic book. If you like stand-up, especially the history of stand-up, it's called Stand Up Guys, and it's about the mid-'70s through the mid-'80s, because John was tight with you and all, Seinfeld and Reiser and all those guys from back then. But it's just reading that just sends you off into your own memories of back then, which were just crazy, incredible,
Yeah. I mean, when you're a comedian, you get wonderful memories and you get wonderful friends because there's a lot of downtime waiting to go on, and you bond with people.
And everybody goes through the odd situations and the bad situations, and we all had them. We all still have them here and there. And trying to overcome like a horrible sound system, or no people in the audience, or angry people, or it puts hard bark on you, but it's also pretty funny.
Now, I didn't tell you this, but not that long ago, we did a show where I had family in attendance. And
we being you and your friends, or you and me?
Me and you. Oh, in Oyster Bay, and I had family in attendance. Both my brother and my niece came up to me after the show, having watched you, and they singled out how interesting and funny and deep the moment in your act when you take some time to talk about why you started out in comedy, coming out of the snow and trying to warm up inside. And I've been thinking about that because it's a deep, actually it's funny, but it's also a lot deeper than it is funny. And so comedians, and we have a lot of comedians watching the show right now. Everybody gets asked, I know you've been a million times, I have been a million times. So why did you start out in comedy? And you have to have an answer. And you have an answer.
Well, but that wasn't how'd you get started in comedy. It's like, how'd you get hooked on telling jokes? Was the joke thing?
Well, I think the whole comedy, it's all connected.
Yeah, but it's actually different. You know, it wasn't like I told a story and I got a laugh with it. It's like I saw somebody tell, in a nutshell, I'm from a very small hamlet on Long Island, on the North Shore of Long Island, called East Norwich, which was a tiny hamlet in the 50s. And it grew and grew and still small. It's just south of Oyster Bay on the North Shore of Long Island. And my gang was very varied because it was a small group of houses to choose from. And we're having a snowball fight. And we were soaking wet and freezing, and our lips were blue. And we decided to go inside my buddy's house and warm up a little bit so we could go out and finish the snowball fight. And so we came in and we sat on his living room floor. And I always say this in my act, people say, well, why didn't you put your clothes in the dryer?
Yeah.
Because there was no such thing as a dryer in 1955. We're lucky we had electricity in that little town. So I'm sitting there and I'm in third grade and he's in fourth grade and he's in second grade. And it was like maybe 5 of us. And we're freezing and our lips are blue and we're trying to warm up and we're dripping. And my cousin walked in who was in 8th grade, which is miles and miles away. You know, he's a foot taller. And he took out a piece of paper and he read a filthy poem. It's actually a parody of The Night Before Christmas. And if you Google The Night Before Christmas dirty parody, there's like 10 versions that come up. But he read that and I looked and the guys were instantly mesmerized, smiling, laughing. They were enchanted and they immediately forgot that they were wet and dripping and cold. And something snapped in my head. I was like, wow, that is so cool, or whatever the word would have been in 3rd grade in 1955. And ever since then, I've remembered just about every damn joke. They just stuck to me. And that's one of those things that came out after a certain amount of time on the Stern Show getting interviewed. They ask you the same questions. Eventually you realize you got to have an answer.
Okay.
You know?
But I get it. You probably have you definitely have another answer for what drove you to your first comedy set. But that, I'm convinced, is the moment that you started on the path to stand-up comedy.
Well, of course.
Okay.
As opposed to,
I'm going to go to the comic strip for this audition. Okay, good. Good. We went way back in your personal history. I wonder about my own now. Every comedian has an answer for why they started into stand-up comedy, and mine is clear to me. 11th grade, I got cast in Brigadoon, the spring show, the musical. I don't sing. I have no musical talent, but they cast me in the role of the funny best friend. And I had all the joke lines. And quite frankly, I stole the show. I've got all of my friends, the whole school and the whole community watching me for 4 nights. The feeling was, may I say it, orgasmic.
of course.
And I wanted that feeling.
And you've been chasing it ever
I've been
since.
chasing that feeling virtually every night for the rest of my life. That's my answer. You know, there's a great comedian, Jimmy Brogan, who had a short answer to why did you start in stand-up comedy. I think I told you this. He goes, I started in stand-up comedy because when I was very, very young, I was scared by a serious person.
Oh, I remember that's
a great answer.
But you know, you go back. Like I actually went to like a therapist for 6 months or something because I wanted to find out what is in your makeup that if you make somebody laugh, that makes you feel good.
All right.
And I never did get around to getting that questions up. But if you go back, okay, I'm sitting on the floor and we're freezing and my cousin comes in and does something and everybody laughs. And I think, what is it that made me feel that was cool? You know what I mean? It goes further. It's got to go back.
I am going to say
you
something.
We have deeper and deeper as you know.
We have a lot of comedians who watch or listen to this podcast, and they have an answer when they're asked this question. But what most of us don't say, but what most of us understand on some level, is that we're in stand-up comedy because we had some tough times when we were very young. We developed low self-esteem. Laughter, when we're in control of it, makes you feel better, makes you feel valued. And I think that's part of it. But that's not a great answer to give to people when you.
No, you know,
it's true, and I believe a lot of that is true, and it's for
you
everybody.
got to be inside of it, you know. But if you can make people laugh, that is so valuable, and when you can do that, you don't even realize how powerful it is until you sit with somebody who can't do it.
Right. That's right. That's right. And you know what I was thinking when you were just talking about you went to that therapist for 6 months? I thought to myself, you needed a lot more time than 6 months.
No, I know.
with
I barely
with
got my
that
coat
therapist.
off. But seriously, there is something about that big hole that just does not get filled. You know, you can, you know.
But I had a very, very funny father from another generation who was a great storyteller, exaggerated and twisted. And I was influenced by him. Of course, I was influenced by, most of all, by Robert Klein and the new generation, starting with Lenny Bruce and George Carlin, who were taking comedy into the 60s, away from jokes and the Catskills. And it was a new, exciting thing. And that's what I was doing when I started. And when I started, I wasn't doing it very well. But that influence, my father's frame of reference was vaudeville.
Yeah, you know,
and joke, what we call comedians today called jokes. If a comedian says it's a joke, what they mean is, it's a
setup punchline joke,
right, out of a joke book,
and not necessarily, you know, there were jokes before they were put in the books. You know, the jokes have been around forever and ever and ever. You know, and it's very, like, my parents were very, very funny, but I think my father told me 5 jokes in his whole life, and I can remember what they were. But my mother would do what was wacky. But when you're a kid, you don't know your mother's wacky. And wacky, that's a little too strong, but she'd do stuff that was a little heavy for a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old. But you don't know that because you're not at your buddy's house, you know, but then you go over your buddy's house and they're not all breaking balls and laughing. You know, when your parents, they were having a great marriage when they weren't, you know, until they weren't, you know, the wars, but there was some kind of comedy bubbling up inside there, you know.
Yeah. You know, this is an inside comedian's joke, but we've got I have a feeling, a lot of inside listeners and viewers to this podcast. Here's the joke that I tell to other comedians. What's the first thing one male comedian says to the other male comedian when they're getting in a car to drive several hours together to a gig? And the answer is, so do you want to talk about your father first, or should I? And that is a joke that is absolutely based in truth.
That is, but once again, I'm a joke teller.
Right.
So that doesn't apply to me, but applies to so many people.
I bet you it does. I bet you it does. You're out telling jokes. Your father had a huge influence on you.
Oh, yeah. But I thought the way you couch it is like it's negative.
It's not. No, I just admitted where my influences came from.
You know, yeah. But everybody is influenced by everything. You know, they have to be. They have to be, you know.
But everybody's different. Everybody has a different answer to why they are really into stand-up comedy. And you know, your story is great. I mean, you're a musician, and I'm not just saying. I've said it before. I'll say it on the podcast. Vastly underrated. You have great music. Is it can people where can people listen to it?
It's, you know, it's all over the place on the web and everything.
So, I mean,
you know.
really good music. But I mean, and Jackie was in a band.
But comedy and music and show business, it's very tough. And at some point, you make that decision. Well, I think I want to eat. You know what I mean? And we just weren't that good. Our band wasn't that good. And I didn't have the confidence in my musical ability or my songwriting. We did it for a long time, but we didn't get any. We were running in place.
But you basically transitioned from music to comedy by doing jokes in between songs.
That's it, just forever, in high school and then in college. And then when I came home to Long Island, the whole 70s, our band played our original songs and told jokes in between. And was an equal amount of both. I mean, the common thing people would say, do you tell jokes to make up for the songs? You just sing songs to make up for the jokes. And when the last band broke up, being in band is a tough road to hoe. It really is. And when you get to a point where, you know what, I'm just not going to do this anymore, depend on other people.
Okay.
And that's what, then you wind up in stand-up. So you got nobody to blame but yourself,
So you tell a story that, and I laugh at it because it's funny now, but at the time it was probably painful. But it's the way you tell it now is so funny.
My band breaking up?
Yeah.
I'm sure anybody that knows me has heard this story a million times, but we were playing in a band the whole 70s. The two of us had added a third guy. So we had two guitars and a guy playing keyboard and bass with his left hand. And we had great songs and we were very funny, but there was no place for us to work. We just weren't that good. Our songs were not commercial. We wouldn't have known what to do with them if they were. We were drunk. We were smoking pot. We were getting laid. We were having a great time, but we're getting nowhere. By the end of 1978, we were making the same money we'd been making 5 years earlier or something. And I had segued away to where I was working in the studio and playing sometimes by myself, playing gigs and singing my songs. And and we were pretty frustrated. And one night after the gig, I always say we were in the dressing room, but we were in the room where they put the boxes of beer, the back room. The old joke where, we had a dressing room, a coat and a nail, and the other two guys in the band said, Jackie, we decided that we're going to leave the band and start our own band. And I thought about it and I said, listen, you guys, not for nothing, but if there's three guys in a band and two of them leave to start their own band, that's kicking me out of the fucking band. I mean, come on, do the math, which is, and of course, to this day, those guys swear that didn't happen. And I swear it did. But we were kind of headed that way anyway. And I wrote most of the songs and told most of the jokes. So it wasn't as crazy as it sounds.
In Oyster Bay, Long Island, there was a club called Rum Runners. All right. And I used to go there and Jackie would be playing with his band. I hadn't even met Jackie yet, but I distinctly remember the band and I distinctly remember the guy, the loud guy, the very loud guy who told jokes in between the songs. And I think back to one of the things I remember about.
There's like 200 people on the dance floor.
I mean, it was a huge place and it was very hot and there were lots of beautiful women there. And quite frankly, that's what I was there for. No offense.
And they were Oyster Bay girls, so they were drunk, which makes things a little bit more greased.
I've never told this on the podcast, but it is quintessential me. Okay. And you were playing in the background, but I'm interested in meeting a beautiful woman at the bar. And I'm young and I'm insecure and shy and I don't have the guts to talk to women. So I was
kind of like now.
Kind of like now. And I'm pacing. I swear, I'm pacing back and forth at the bar. And I can't bring myself to talk to a woman, pacing back and forth. And this one girl at the bar yells at me, for God's sake, make up your mind.
Talk to somebody.
Talk to somebody. Talk to me. I mean, and something else for some reason back then, a rum and Coke, which would have been my young person's drink, was $4. And
no,
maybe not even $4.
$1.
No, not $1.
It was $1 to get in. We'd have 400 people. It was $1 to get in, and we got the door. We would get $400 in ones and fives.
Yeah, but that's good money in those days.
It was we thought we had robbed the bank. We'd go home and sit there like Scrooge McDuck throwing the money, But just classic times, classic times.
Well, please actually comment at standupmemories.com, or you can find us on Facebook. How much would a mixed drink, a rum and coke, for example, have been in the year 1978? That's a question.
I would say $2 and $1 for a beer. That's what I was. Do you remember the Gold? There was a place called the Gold Coast in Glen Cove. It was $1 for all the beer or wine that you could drink. $1 to get in, and
I can't even believe that.
It's just not believable. And I guess there must be somebody around here.
I recently had a rum and coke in my hometown, East Northport, here on Long Island.
Let me guess. $14.
18. And I think that's pretty good, actually, in this day and age.
Oh my God. Thank God I don't,
we're turning into our grandparents.
I wonder how much money I haven't had a drink in 25 years. I wonder how much money I have saved. It's like, that's defying,
But are we turning into the type of older gentlemen who are remembering the old?
I remember I would walk 3 miles to get a rum and coke for 45
Yeah, but for
cents.
the longest time, the subway was 5 cents, and a phone call was 5 cents, and
the Midtown Tunnel was a quarter. We used to call it the Midtown Tunnel Reach when we're almost getting to the toll booth, and guys would pretend that they couldn't get into their pocket to get out a quarter. Jesus.
Well, I got to tell you, this is true. We used to drive with the great Eddie Murphy from Long Island, New Jersey, to New Jersey for these one-nighters. And he, on the way back, when we had to pay the toll, he would fall asleep. He would fake falling asleep in the back seat so he didn't have to chip in probably 25 cents. Remember those days?
Any excuse would do for anybody.
And around 1980, when I first started doing one-nighters in New Jersey, the pay was $40 and a cheeseburger if the cook had time.
Jeez,
which was actually,
that's like Mustache Pete's and Freddy's and those one-nighters. Like, geez, just crazy.
So
stuff. We drive so far.
So far.
So far. Once in a while, I'm driving in Jersey, and all of a sudden I get to Haskell, New Jersey. I'm like, I've been driving for 2 hours, and we used to go to Mustache Pete's in Haskell, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And we were thrilled. We're going to do stand-up comedy. Woo.
Yeah, but we've been on some gigs in the last year that were pretty far. We haven't,
Yeah, I keep telling people I drive further and further for less and less. But we're not done yet, Peter.
We are not done yet. But we're free associating here. When I started out in comedy, I had a day job that was recommended to me by Jerry Seinfeld because he did it. And he had just reached a big milestone, which was quitting your day job and doing comedy full time. And he could pay for his studio apartment on the Upper West Side. And it was at a place called Steak and Brew. And
were you a waiter at Steak and Brew?
I was a waiter at Steak and Brew. And Jerry Seinfeld was the one who told me that this was available. And it was perfect because you worked lunch and it wasn't super early. You had to get there and you got out, mid-afternoon.
The timing worked perfectly.
Because you had to be there at the clubs at night. It worked out great. And their thing was, one price for beer, the continuous pitcher. And then I got a break from the manager, a great guy, the late Lucian Hold, who hired me as the maitre d',
not the manager of the comic strip.
So I left Steak and Brew, okay, and I went to the comic strip as the maitre d'. I was at the the rail seating people, maitre d'.
Well, basically that's
but
what you were.
But the comedy clubs were so hot, and I got $40 a night. But back in those days, the comedy clubs were so hot that how we sat the room, we left the front open. because people would come in and give you $20 for a front seat, and that the front had people. You'd be seating people. How come the front's open and I'm way back here? Those are,
That's
those are
my cash cow.
That's my cash cow. I got to save that because a guy's going to come in with his date and he's going to give me $20 and get ringside.
I know you know the story about Red McCready at the East Side.
I want to remember it.
People got wind. My friend Red was the doorman at the East Side Comedy Club very soon after it opened. And Richie, our good pal, Richie Minervini, the owner, got wind of the fact that Red was shaking people down for a good seat. So Richie had a friend of his. He wrote something on a $20 bill, and the guy came in and he handed Red the 20, and Red took him right to the front and sat him and his date right in the front. And then Richie came over to him and said, "Red, you got a $20 bill?" And he said, "I don't think so." He said, "You probably have it. See if you got a $20 bill." And Red took the $20 bill out of his pocket and it said, "You're fired."
Yeah, but
which is just so clear.
That is, but
everybody did.
But it was everybody. It was part of my pay.
Of course.
I mean, they did that at all the clubs. Why did Richie? He was just trying to make.
Hey guys,
yeah.
Just saying hello. You got a couple more minutes. You're not paying attention to the screen.
This is our producer, Michael Zinn.
Mr. Zinn.
What's up,
Dad?
He's just checking in.
I'm just checking in,
telling you
giving you the 3-minute warning.
Because he doesn't trust us to wrap up in a timely manner, and he's right not to trust us.
He absolutely should not trust us.
So, you want to hear a story about being maitre d' at the comic strip? Because I also got spots out of that. I mean, I went on every night because I was there. And that was a big deal. So I am a huge fan of Chevy Chase. I think he's extremely funny. I've always thought he was funny. I thought his movies were great. Okay. I'm a huge fan of Chevy Chase. But I think a lot of you know that recently there's been a very high profile documentary on Chevy Chase. Did you get to see it?
I have not watched it yet, but his reputation started to sour about 3 minutes after he left Saturday Night Live in 1975.
Well,
he made great movies. He was very funny.
He made amazing movies. He was a huge star. He's always been funny to me. But it's, there's a lot of articles being written about, is he a nice guy or not? I'll tell this story. So it's Saturday night at the comic strip.
You realize if you tell this story, he's never going to do this podcast.
I know. I don't think he's going to do this podcast. So it's Saturday night.
If your name is Chevy Chase, don't listen to this story.
And we got to wrap up because we're going to get in trouble from our producer. But okay, so it's Saturday night and it's the first show and the comic strip was sold out, packed to the gills, unbelievably packed, not a seat in the place. And the show was over in 15 minutes. And Chevy Chase walks in alone, carrying, I'll never forget it, a Budweiser tall boy. Do you remember those extra tall Budweisers? Yeah,
not as well as I remember this story.
Okay, all right. Let me tell the audience this.
Go ahead.
So he comes to the railing, which was actually a velvet rope, and he wants to. Can I go in? And we know it's Chevy Chase, and Lucian, the manager, is welcome, Chevy. It's so great that you're here. The show is going to be over in just a few minutes, and it's totally sold out. But we'll put you right. We're so thrilled to have you. Second show will be starting soon. We'll put you right down front. We're so great that you're here. Well, really being effusive. And Chevy Chase goes, "I want to go in now." Well, first of all, the show is almost over, and there's not a seat in the house. And Lucian is
not to mention how disruptive it's going to be.
That would be, yeah. So Chevy asks several times. Lucian gives the same answer, saying, "Oh, we love the. I wish we could, And Chevy finally gives up and starts walking out the door of the comic strip, and he throws the Budweiser tall boy against the wall, turns back and says to Lucian and me at the rope, "You guys wouldn't let the effing president in here." And he storms out. And I'm going,
Did you?
Well-
You guys had to smile at that. like-
Well, you look at each other and it's almost unbelievable. And I will. He's great talent, but that's my little insight into controversy has been.
and there's a lot of
reignited
people
here.
with stories like that.
Yeah.
There was a party not a party, but there was a memorial for Gilbert during one of the, I think it was last year, maybe it was 2 years ago. I forget how long ago he died, but during the New York Comedy Festival. And it was like a big gathering, like 6 people on the dais and everybody's telling their Gilbert stories. And, there was a bunch of us sitting in the front. And after they were done, Frank Santopadre, who was Gilbert's podcast guy, was going around and saying, Paul Schaefer, what do you have to say about that? And he came up to me and said, Jackie, why don't you tell one of the jokes that Gilbert loved you to tell? So I told the joke that Gilbert loved more than anything, but somebody behind me videotaped me with their iPhone, the whole joke. And Chevy was sitting right there, like in the next row, a little to the right. So looking at me from the back, he was facing, and he laughed during the joke and laughed hard at the end. And he doesn't laugh at anything. And I'm just wondering whether people smacked his hand and said, now you go out and be polite to people, or whether I really made him laugh,
You really made him laugh. I think give yourself some credit.
All right.
I love these shows when Jackie and I just get to reminisce and tell stories about the old days. Actual stand-up memories.
It's almost like that would be a good name for the show.
It would be.
I think we got to say goodnight, Peter.
We do. Jackie the Joke Man Martling, Peter Bales. Let's give...
Peter has a comedy college
called Stand Up University. Go to standupuniversity.com. But I really want to plug Paradise Studios right here in Massapequa. Any video needs, podcasting needs you have, it is state of the art. Just talk to Bobby. There's a great
King
guy.
Bobby Lucera. The place is beautiful.
It's state of the all different kinds of studios and facilities. It's terrific.
And I have no idea when this is going to air. But Friday night, March 6th, both of us, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be at McGuire's Comedy Club in Bohemia, which is always a great, great time and a great, great show. So please come on out and bring your many questions about stand-up memories.
I'll be opening the show, and Jackie will come on after me and bring it down.
There you go. With any luck.
So, Paradise Studios, we are on a wonderful network called Strong Island Television. Very cool.
Very cool.
So thank you, Bobby, and Paradise Studios. And thank you to our producer, Michael Zinn.
Thank you, Michael Zinn. Thank you, Peter Bales.
And we will see you next time on Stand Up Memories.
Wow, what a finish.